Rayni Williams, welcome to the Forward One podcast.
Thank you,
couldn't
Josh.
be more excited to have you here.
Thank you.
A absolutely amazing luxury real estate agent, the top of the top, broker owner, mom. You wear a lot of hats, so we're excited to learn from you and hear about your path.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, if we want to dive right into it, we could start near the beginning where you, your choices to get into real estate, what skills you brought to the table, where, your background was before you entered into real estate.
Yeah, and let me just say one thing before you address that. Like, we see the enormous success in all those areas, and it's always interesting to hear the path, the decision, inevitably, I'm sure, the sacrifices that you made in order to get there. So maybe give us a little bit of context and background. And
Yeah, sure. So I grew up on the East Coast in a family of real estate developers and real estate entrepreneurs. So I kind of didn't want to get back into anything that had to do with, my growing up or my history with what was second nature. I wanted to do my own thing, which was journalism. So I had studied journalism at Ohio State University, and I really wanted to be a sports broadcaster. That was my dream. And I came to Los Angeles after graduating Ohio State, thinking that my journey in broadcasting would be a lot easier than it was. And I found myself writing, being paid per word for, content that, was just maybe, being read by very limited viewership and so forth, and doing the usual waitressing on the weekends and doing all of the things that you have to do to make it in a big city like this. And I found myself at the age of 23 in lending during sort of the subprime when I had been approached by a few people that I knew that owned countrywide branches. And they were like, you'd be really good at this. And it felt enough removed from real estate that I was my own way.
Right.
And I became very good in mortgages because it was a predominantly male-led industry. And I was a young woman. And I had probably a more trustworthy voice, right, over the phone than these men. And I remember walking into the office the first time around all of these young guys, and it felt very much like a boiler room. It was, essentially. And we were given sort of a script, and we were given these hot leads, and we had one product to sell. And it was like 3 points on the front, 3 points on the back. And it was essentially a monthly adjustable mortgage.
Right.
And I really didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that I could get someone's social security number in about 5 seconds on a phone. And I knew that I could close a loan in less than 30 days and that I, was doing very well. And it was much more lucrative than the words I was selling for a page that were a few dollars per word.
Yep.
And I, found my way, but my soul didn't feel fulfilled. My mind was telling me, this is good. You're helping them. They can do a lot with this money. They're pulling money out. But what I wasn't connecting with was, if this were my grandmother or my relative, what's going to happen with this adjustable mortgage? And as I delved into the fine print, I was like, this is not just an adjustable rate. This is a monthly adjustable. So I remember going to my manager and I was like, what happens if the rate adjusts? And he's like, no, it won't. Just, carry on. Yeah. And at this time, all the men in my office, they were all maybe a little bit older than me. They were driving Bentleys and Rolls Royces. And they were like, this was like a real movement of sort of the indiscrepancy of it all was vast. And so I go into the office one day and I said to this woman, I called her back and I was like, how I told you to go to Aruba, and how I told you to take the money and do the repairs for your home? I was like, call and cancel. And she goes, no, honey, I want to go to Aruba. And I was like, you can't go to Aruba on this money. This is a very bad move. If you were my grandmother, I would tell you not to. Please cancel. I can't cancel the loan. And I hung up and I prayed to God that she canceled and I resigned. And I had my real estate license at that point.
And you resigned, you said.
I went into my manager's office. I was like, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's not right. And this was a countrywide Beverly Hills office. And I had my real estate license because they did encourage us to get our license just to have. And my family had always said, always have your real estate license. It should be like a driver's license. Just have it because you're always going to buy. And, this is what our family does.
Yep.
So
tool in your toolkit.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And my family were Italian immigrants. So my grandfather was a bricklayer by trade because, when he came here, he had little education and this is what he knew from where he grew up in a small town in Italy. And then my grandparents had a lot of children. My mother was one of 8. So all of the boys ended up getting into basically building homes, which later they became developers. So that was my first kind of look into real estate. And then my grandmother, also an Italian immigrant, was very entrepreneurial. So when the 8 children moved out, this huge home that my grandfather had built, she turned into a convalescence home and she started renting the rooms, but she made it a female convalescence home, which was beautiful. And she was this Italian, amazing, dynamic woman that would cook all of these home cooked meals for the residents. And the word spread fast that like, oh my God, there's this Italian woman that has this old folks home. And then she opened up multiple locations and they became the American dream. And they were very, very poor when they immigrated. And then when my mother was growing up, they, with a lot of children, they were very, very lower class, less than middle class. And
where were these homes? I'm sorry.
In Pennsylvania.
Where?
Pittsburgh,
okay.
Pennsylvania.
We're both from
I knew that was
Okay.
And our partner's from Pittsburgh.
And that's where my mother, that's where her parents came through Ellis Island. And so that's where it all began. And then my stepfather was actually in multifamily. So I also grew up, collecting rents and going around with him. And really my grandparents, I would say, were the most influential in my life because I had a working mom, very successful working mom that also, led philanthropy and different things like that. So I was often with my grandmother.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And she would tell me like, whatever you want to do in life, find something that you love, something that you can make money at, and something that makes you happy. And so it was always happiness, skill set, and make money at. But the skill set, she would say, you can't just do it. You have to be the best. That was her requirement. Whatever you do, you have to be the best. And I don't care what it is. But, so later in life, I always took that with me, and real estate wasn't my first choice. Like a lot of us, like, you're an investment banker. I mean, that wasn't your first choice. And you probably not your first choice as well. I did
interior design before that. Went to art school.
It's a bit of a default business, real estate, but we land here.
Not many people choose
purposefully because it can be so lucrative. And also what I realized is your soul's calling might be to be a painter or for me to write and to be a journalist. And you can do that on the side. And that's the happiness box that you'll tick, which I think is the most important.
Absolutely.
And then you can find, I think, great joy in doing things that maybe aren't your first pick, but are the path that's going to lead you to freedom, which is financial freedom.
So one of the things that I always say too is like, you can find those passions within what you're doing. Even if the broader picture isn't journalism, there's marketing, writing that can be found within real estate or anything else, right? 100%. So you can, and I'm also a huge believer, to your point, like passion drives consistency. I'm super passionate about consistency. And I think I don't need to tell you that's an absolute prerequisite for greatness. 100%. So when you're passionate about it and you're good at it, then you're far more likely to be consistent.
It's not the things that you do some of the time, it's the things that you do all of the time that define who you are and what you are. And as a parent, I think too, you see like with your kids, if they make a mistake or they, fumble in some way, it's like, that's okay. That's just a little part of the journey, but it's what you do every day that speaks to who you really are and what success you'll have.
Yeah.
I mean, the gift you received by being, having an entrepreneur as a parent, but as a grandparent and a female role model, and them receiving success and sharing the journey with you is such a gift. Absolutely. It alleviates fear for you. But being in the real estate business was part of the vernacular of your understanding whether you chose to be in it or you chose not to be in it, right? And your grandmother's journey and your stepfather and your mother, all of them, you saw the granular nature of running a business, and it enabled you to overcome fears that like normal people like have to deal with on the daily, right? You know, whose parents are paycheck people and just collect and go to work and wake up and go to work and go to bed and go to work and go to work, right? So you received this benefit that was part of who you are moving forward and gave you strength to to want to open up a brokerage, which is, a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Yeah. And they showed you, they showed you the possibilities. Per what Joey said, like fear is a product of uncertainty.
Right.
But when you see that something can be done and you see the possibilities, you're going to have far less fear to understand that this is something that can be achieved.
They overcame it.
Yeah.
Right.
They overcame those small things. And they set standards for you. They're like, your grandmother said, hey, if you're going to do it, be the best.
Yeah.
No matter what you chose.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter
the other thing I want to point out, like even just I'm a huge believer and obviously in curiosity.
Yes.
Like when even as you were in the lending, space for that period of time, you were asking questions, you were digging deeper. You weren't just accepting what people were telling you at face value. You were asking the questions to truly understand. And then you arrived that this is not the right thing.
Curiosity is my number one skill set. And I think as a child, I was probably, the most, curious. I was the child that was asking and questioning. And I always tell my friends with kids, and they're like, oh, my kid is challenging. I'm like, you know what? Great. Because independent thinking is everything. And curiosity is still my number one key. I will sit with anybody in front of me and ask them before I walk away. I want to know every single thing I can extract from them because I'm so interested. I'm so interested in people. Yeah. And that's what this business is about. This business, sure, it comes with illustrious architecture and great things that come along with all of it. But this is a people business.
It's a relational business.
If you're not interested in people, this is not your business.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed.
So take us now. So you decide lending's not the right thing. Continue down that path. And
So I knew the Normands. I knew the son, Michael Normand.
Michael's a great guy.
Yep.
And he ran the Beverly Hills office. And then I think they had at that time the Brentwood and probably the Hollywood office. I lived in Beverly Hills and I knew him. So Mikey so he took me into the office and I looked around and I was like, yeah, this feels right. It felt like family. Libby Shapiro was the manager at that time. And I didn't have my family here and she felt like family. She would invite me over to Thanksgiving and I knew her family, her children. And we just had a really wonderful relationship. Myra was very motherly. It was great.
Yep.
And
it's what you needed.
What I needed. And it also it was boutique. It was in the heart of Beverly Hills. It helped me to get my feet wet in the luxury sector. And from there, I met Brandon, my husband, who my cubicle was here and his was here. And I think I was at the office for maybe a few weeks, maybe a month, and he joined. And we just immediately had this sort of banter that was like, there was a curiosity factor. It was sort of like he was interested in real estate and I had been there for a little while. He was coming out of fashion and acting. He was an actor. And so he didn't have this side of his brain wasn't activated yet. And he was really interested. And I would see him studying flashcards. And I was like, I love his tenacity. And he would work, he'd be on the phone calling everyone. I would call, we would be the first ones in and the last ones out. And I remember I had done a few deals now. We were still in the office and then he hadn't had any deals pop yet. And then all at once he got like 3 or 4 of his friends all in the condos, little deals, whatever. Yep. He said, the office is going to pair me with this woman to help me with the paperwork and everything. And I saw the woman and she was, well into her 70s. And at that time, Brandon was 30. I was like 24. And I was like, no, that's not going to work. I said, Brandon, look, for nothing, for fun and for free, I'm going to show you the contract. It's very simple. And I'll even do it for you. I'll show you these 4 deals. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, no problem. And he's like, no, I'll pay you something. I'm like, whatever, we'll figure it out. The deals become, as we all know, so intricate. And there's so many minutiae, whether it's a $500,000 condo or a $200 million home, it's so intricate. So by the end of call it 30 or 45 days, he's just like, oh my God. He was like, you worked so hard. Like, I'm splitting this deal with you. And I'm like, whatever, just give me 30%. He's like, no. I'm splitting the deal with you. And that was the same for all three of the deals. And then we never did a deal apart. From his first deals, I did maybe one or two deals before, like without him, while he was getting his feet wet. And then we became immediate partners. And he said, do you want to be partners down the board? And partnerships, as you know, you have several of them. They're fabulous if they're right size, and they're a disaster.
Good. Good of course. Not good. And you two are either going to fall in love or you are going to hate each other. Absolutely. One of the two after 3 deals.
Yeah, because there's a lot of trust, of course, and communication, and that can be breached real quick, and can be in. So yes, agreed.
So that's how our partnership started, and then I saw something in him. Like I saw that he was very gifted.
You understood his magic.
And he was messy, and he still is. And he wasn't linear in thinking, and he wasn't linear in moving. And there was nothing normal about his trajectory. I saw it from A to Z. I was like, I know where this can go. But I also was like, I could also take him to the White House if he wanted, because he's that talented. But I would have to just, tweak certain things and run certain things. But he could run things that I couldn't.
Yeah.
And
the synergy.
Synergy. And and we were both like, he's air and I'm earth. And it was sort of like, I was like, let's anchor here. And he's like, let's fly here.
Right.
And so we always would land somewhere.
We use the term, sorry to cut you off, like air game and ground game.
Wow, I like that. Yeah. Oh, I've never heard that. I like that. Yeah. So that's the games that we were combining, air and ground. And I love that. That's really cool. And
so then you guys decided to
there, we became successful very quickly. And like within a few months, we'd done a $5 million deal. And this is in 2006. So this was like 5 million was like 10 million, 12 million, 15 million now. Yeah. It was a sizable deal because back then we didn't have deals much over 20 million. 20 million was like a lot of money back then. So we did that deal from the Beverly Hills Hotel. So we would always, pay homage to the Beverly Hills Hotel. Is one of our favorite places to eat and go. And we love the architecture and the style of it. So that comes later in the story when we launch our brokerage, but that's hence the name and the look of our brokerage. But after that, we went to Hilton and Highland.
And what was the catalyst, if I may ask, for that move? I'm curious.
We had, with the most love and respect and gratitude for the Normands, we had just outgrown it from a place of where we wanted to go. And I'm the most loyal person in the world. And I think we stayed there as long as we could. It was really uncomfortable to leave. And then then we went to Hilton Highland, and we stayed there far longer than we should have for the same reason. Jeff Hyland and Rick Hilton became our mentors, and they're Jeff's a historian and just such an amazing mind. But a very complex guy. He didn't like everyone. If he liked you, he liked you. If he didn't, you knew. And he liked us. He liked me more. He loved me. I think he loved women. I think he didn't understand Brandon. I think he was confused by Brandon. I think he was taken aback by his intensity and his masculinity. And he loved Drew Fenton, and he sort of made us compete in a way that I think that generation, that sort of like kind of way of thinking, a man on man.
They thought it was
a great way to combat talent or to make healthy competition. They called it healthy competition. And I went there like a really good friend with Drew. We were always good friends. I always loved Drew. And we left that 10 years. So
you were you were at Hilton Highland 10 years?
We were there for 10 years, almost 11. Yeah. And now Drew and Brandon and I are all good friends again. Yeah. But it was right before Jeff died that we mended our relationship. And we had already been gone because we left and we started the Beverly Hills Estates in 2020. And I think Jeff died in maybe 2022.
Yeah, that sounds right. So tell me so clearly per your grandma, like be great at whatever you did, which clearly got instilled in you very early on. When did you start to create a vision, even with Brandon, as you guys started to work very early on? And as you say, you felt like you outgrew Normand, ambitious, driven. I can relate very much. So, and then made the move to Hilton and Highland, where you felt like you could help, that could help continue your growth. Like, where did the seed get planted that like, we're gonna be the best?
Was your brand like growing in such a way that you felt like it was being restricted by being with another brokerage? Or
when we were at Hilton and Highland?
Yeah. Was it, we're gonna do our own thing? Like, was that, when did that start to become a thing?
We never wanted to do our own thing. We never wanted to. And, but we had no choice, because Williams and Williams had become so big, because at the time that we peaked, like I said, we became successful early on, because I think Brandon and I are very identical in our ideology of failure is not an option and greatness is our only avenue. And so we were both driven, and we would stop at nothing, and we would work the longest hours. We'd be the first ones in, the last ones out. And by the time I got out of the parking garage, he would call me and be like, let's recap the day. And we would talk until I got home, and then I'd kick off my heels and be so happy to get home. And he'd call back and be like, what could we have done better? And he and I are just insatiable in that way, where your best quality is your worst quality.
Sure.
And we're perfectionists, and that's just who we are. And I hate that word, and I love that word. Yeah. And it makes me sad when I see it in my kids, because I wish I could take that away from them and soften the blow a bit. But unfortunately, they inherited that.
Yep.
And their teachers will say to me, like, who's putting pressure on these kids? We see that. Yeah. We see how you parent. We see how you and Brandon parent. I'm like, I'm not pressuring them, but they're seeing it. They're watching it.
Yeah, of course.
They know that, we stop at nothing. And
why would I want less?
Yeah.
Why would I want less?
Why would I want less if I'm going to do it? And so it was sort of that philosophy. And so that's how it came about. And then we,
so no design to do your own thing, but always designed to like be the best, continue to grow and evolve.
We were too big in a way. And I don't mean this, I'm not tooting my own horn, but we became big because the houses became big, because the world became global, because it was all here. And if I listed a house with a helicopter and a $200 million price tag, the world knew about it. And I inherently was dragged into that. Yeah. And so my name got dragged into that. We would be in London and we would be in different places, just like eating. And people would be like, wait, aren't you Williams and Williams? And so Williams and Williams became synonymous with luxury real estate. And like it or not, we weren't looking for it. It just was the way the world was moving in this global world that we are now in, where people in Idaho know about the house, know about the billionaire house, the 924 Bel Air Road, know about all of these things. And so that was where it went. And what happened was, because it was a sizable business that we had underneath another business, we were kind of just like
pushing up against just for sake for parameters of it. Yeah.
Of the audience, Williams and Williams was your brand.
Williams and Williams was our brand. Even as soon as we started dating in 2010 when we joined Hilton and Highland. Prior to that, we were friends at Normand. We crossed over to dating around 2010, 2011. And then when we got married and I changed my name from Romito to Williams, we were Williams and Romito at Normand. And then we branded Williams and Williams. And I'll never forget Lauren Beale. Do you remember Lauren Beale? Mm-hmm. She was the writer, the columnist in the LA Times who wrote Hot Properties. Okay. And I remember she wrote, we got married. It was under the radar. We got married in Paris. We're like, whatever. We came back and there was like Williams and Williams, like merge. We were like, oh my God, that's so cool. Because back then they weren't doing press on people, on agents like they do now. Yep. And so that was kind of like that. We ran with it. Brandon came up with it. He thought that was really cool, like the redundancy of Williams. And I was like, great, let's do it. And so we rebranded and we used our logo of the Sheets Goldstein residence, which is like the triangle over Williams and Williams. And we added a few palm trees. And then 2020 COVID hits, and our clients still wanted to work, still see houses, still wanted to do deals. We had, if we had success grows, I think one fell out. The rest were like, let's forge on, because they had the wherewithal to know that this wasn't going to last forever, and we'll get through this. And we went to go into the office at Hilton and Highland, and they wouldn't let us in. And but let me rewind 5 years prior. So we'd been there for 10, call it year 5. I was pregnant a few times. So like I was just like having babies, and I was juggling motherhood and marriage and the company, and we were also developers. And so I was pulled very thin. And so Brandon kept saying, we got to do this. We got to do this. And I was like, I can't put one more thing on my plate because my plate's going to crack, you know? And so he was like, okay, well, when you're ready.
Meaning got to do this meeting.
Meaning we have to go independently because we can't work like this because we need to move. We need to navigate.
You were being encumbered. You were being stifled.
Correct. We were being encumbered. That's right. So, and then in 2020, when we couldn't get in the office, Brandon was like, are you ready? And I was like, yeah, let's go. So we had signed a very big lease in Beverly Hills for a very big commercial building. And we signed it just before the lockdown. But the first few cases of COVID were out, but like it hadn't like officially begun the pandemic. And we were getting ready to transfer money and so forth. And then the lockdown came. And I remember sitting at our dining room table and looking at each other, and I go, we can't take a 10,000 square foot space. We don't even have any agents. Nobody knew because we were so respectful. We're still respectful. I wouldn't have done it any other way. Like I told nobody. We went under the radar. The goal was to build it out and take my team of 6 and organically grow, because I would never want to take from my mentors or people that enriched my life, that I built my empire under their helm. I'm not going to ever take from these people. So I called the landlord in this it was on Beverly Drive, actually. It was across from Il Fornaio. I forget what's in the space now, but I called and I was like, I'm not taking this lease, right? And I was like, I'm really sorry, but I don't know if we're leaving the house. So then we found our little sunset right down here. We found the Oz building, and Brandon grew up going to Oz, and I've been in the city for 20 years. So I loved Oz, and it's a flagship. And there's 500,000 cars a day that pass by. And we're like, pop-up shop. And we didn't know if we'd have 6 agents in perpetuity or if we would grow or we'd become what we are today or bigger. Like we just knew that we needed to do our own thing. And so we built it out, and then we moved in. And right before we moved in, somehow it leaked out to the press. And I got a call. We're writing this article. I hung up on them. I called Jeff Hyland. He was sick at that time, which makes me a little bit sad, but because we didn't want to do it that way. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to say, oh, by the way, like thanks, bye, we're leaving. So anyway, then Brandon called Rick, and then I called Jeff, and then we switched and called the others. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like I would never want them to find out from a reporter, right? So, but it was COVID. The same thing is like, it was COVID. I couldn't sit in their office and tell them. So we did it that way. We worked a little bit backwards, and we kept our word. We were very respectful. We never recruited or called any of our, coworkers. And we just made our ethos one of an organic nature that was sort of like, if we know you, if we've done a deal with you, or we have a relationship and we know how you conduct business, come on. And otherwise, we don't want you. And we never hired a recruiter, or we never did anything like that.
Just taking people on that were expansions of your brand. Right. That held the same standards and values of the way you want to run business.
By the way, I'll just say this. It reminds me, Chris Sofer.
Yes.
Who, when he left Beverly Hills, Keller Williams. He came to me very respectfully, very whatever. And he's like, I have this great relationship with Rainey. She's going to mentor me. I love her. And he did it in the most respectful way. So it just reminded me of that conversation he had with me. And I know he's very happy there because I've run into him many times. I've known
Chris since he was like 12 or 15, because his mother was she was my Ayurvedic doctor. And I'm holistic, and I try to do things like Eastern way. And so she helped me I was like in my early 20s, I had a stomach ulcer, and like doctors would just be like, there's only one way to treat a stomach ulcer. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take medicine. I don't really take medicine, that way. I take Chinese herbs and things like that. So, and I found her and she healed me. She cured me.
Wow.
And probably think in hindsight, I probably was like, I was in real estate. It was probably like a little real estate stomach ulcer that I had acquired.
Yeah.
But she stuck with me and she can like literally change your life, this woman. And she owns the Surya Spa. And so it used to be a little commune kind of thing in the Palisades, and Chris would be there with his sister, Pam, and I would see them coming in and out of and you would go in for treatment rooms that was in their little home.
Wow.
That's how I met him. So his father, Roger, called me and said, my son's getting into real estate, and would you talk to him? And I said, Chris, he's very smart, really smart guy. And I said, why don't you go do it your way and then call me? If it aligns, it aligns.
Yep.
And he did it his way, and he tried.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He came to me, and he's a great guy.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Beverly Hills Estates, like currently. What's the vision for Beverly Hills Estates? How many, and then just the data behind it. How many agents? What level of business? Give us a sense of that.
So today, 5 years, doors open. We have 130 agents. Like I told you, we started with 6. We have 2.5, about to probably be 2.7 billion in sales this year, company-wide. We are, we're a luxury boutique brokerage on Sunset Boulevard, that has a name that's synonymous with luxury, which is Beverly Hills. We chose it not to limit it, as some of our competitors are like, oh, that's a limiting name. It's like, no, drive down PCH, you'll see more pink Beverly Hills signs. It's if you do, with the data research that we did, was foreigners think that Los Angeles is Beverly Hills, especially the Asian culture. They want to know the proximity to Rodeo Drive.
Yeah.
I use the term, you'll appreciate this, Beverly Hills travels, meaning everyone knows Beverly Hills.
That's
so it's
branding.
like, all encompassing. Yeah. So that's, you can, you're welcome. Yeah. So
I'll give you credit.
Yeah. So that's, I couldn't agree more. I agree. Like it's ubiquitous.
It transcends the location,
for sure.
The geography piece of it.
Exactly. And we're still in our pop-up shop, but we've pushed, and it's like Pandora's box. It's contiguous office, and under, and we have 11,000 feet total.
Wow.
And we're really,
it's really deceptive.
It is deceptive. And we like that because it's a social club as well. So we put the social club hook because going back to the Hilton and Highland thing, right when we were leaving Normand, we had been highly recruited by Coldwell Banker Beverly Hills. And there is a man, I know you know him, Stan Richmond.
Yep.
And he's a legend. And Brandon and I were in love with Stan Richmond. And he took us, we would joke, on the dining world tour of Beverly Hills. We sat with him for hours. We would ideate, we would strategize. We just loved this man. And we were going to Coldwell Banker. Not because of Coldwell Banker. We were going because of Stan Richmond. Yeah. And we had our offices. We had everything. But every time we walked into the office, we were like, it doesn't feel right, but Stan feels right.
Yeah.
And so we hadn't signed the contract because every time we would go to sign, we were like,
right.
So we were walking down Cannon Drive, and we had just become kind of like bigger agents. We were young and we weren't like, as known as, some of the bigger names, but people that were following real estate knew we were having hit after hit.
Yeah.
And this woman pulls my arm. I'm walking with Brandon, and she's like, Rainey, Brandon? And I'm like, and it's this beautiful blonde bombshell, Olive Furman. And she stands up and she's like, I don't know if you know all of it. She comes running towards us and we're like, what is going on? She's like, Brandon, she's like, you guys are killing it. Yeah. Like, she's going off. She knows everything about our career. We're like so flattered. She's like pulling us, come talk to Jeff Hyland. So Jeff Hyland was sitting at Sheon with her, and she was sort of his associate manager.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And Jeff Hyland had no idea who we were. Like Jeff Hyland knew like 4 people.
Yeah.
And that's it, because he was so, high.
3 foot circle.
Yes. But he could tell you any house and any block in Beverly Hills, Holmby Hills. He wrote the books. Like he was a true historian, but like new agents, not on his.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the personality that all it was to him was probably she was his wrangler in a lot of ways. And the next thing you know, we sat for like an hour and she's telling him all about our career. And she's like, you got to be with Hilton and Highland. And I'm like, well, we're going to be with Stan Richmond. And we just picked our office. Yeah. And she's like, no. And that was a daytime. She goes, what are you doing for dinner tonight?
Wow.
Olive Furman, if she's on a closer, I don't know what she is.
Yeah.
She waited for nothing. She goes, what are you doing for dinner?
Yeah.
So we end up going to the Montage at Bouchon. I don't even know if Bouchon, like we sat.
It's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore.
I remember it.
Yeah.
We eat at Bouchon, the four of us. And then this is how she closes us. She takes us from Bouchon, takes us into Hilton Highland. She goes, pick your office. Now, those were offices. Like
it's super sexy.
250 North Cannon.
Yeah.
So we're like
new construction.
I've heard many people say it's the nicest real estate office.
It is.
It was. Yeah. Well, now the nicest 270 across the street.
Okay, right. Okay.
We were in the old school one, which was 250.
Okay.
Which also, but the location right there.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
We were in the little one.
Is stunning. And the old one was,
fabulous.
for the time, it was really
back then, there was no 270.
Yeah.
So that's how it went down. And then the flowers and the apologies and the love letters that we had to send to Stan. Because it was really,
because you were emotionally connected with him.
With him.
Yeah.
And when I opened my firm, he was my first call. And I was like, I only want you. And he was like, I would only come out of retirement for you. Let's talk. And we talked and we talked and we talked.
Yeah.
But he was just like, I don't have it in me to launch a new brokerage. And I was like, come on. And it ended up for the best because we ended up going a different way. And it's better for him because he's like knee deep in grandfatherhood and all these great things.
Yeah. So obviously being a extremely prolific real estate agent and obviously being a very successful brokerage owner and a mom, where do you focus? Where do you balance your time? And maybe that evolves, but give us a greater insight into that.
I don't balance my time. I don't have balance in my life, unfortunately or fortunately. I have a grueling calendar that I look at and I just go wherever it tells me to go. So as kind of like, maternal or, sexy as this would be, like I calendar everything.
Sure.
From like my kids' plays to my pickup and so my kids are chiseled out as much as I can and they're my number one. But do I get every minute with my kid? No. And does that make me sad? Sure. But I give them moments. I give them like deep moments of undivided attention. And the beauty of this career, as you both know as parents, is like you never have to miss a basketball game or a baseball game or a dance recital if it's scheduled into your day. But as the day unfolds, if you don't take control like that, if I'm very organized, I'm very delegated and organized and I have a lot of support and I have a lot of great people around me. One being my mother who helps me with my kids. And also, of course, my kids have their nanny and I have a lot of staff at home, but I have a lot of support in my office. And that way I do all my own showings. I do the majority of my Tuesday opens. I don't do Sunday opens anymore. I work on the weekends for my big clients that call me out to see something because I have to work around their grueling schedule, right? But otherwise, like I think no is very powerful. But in the beginning, if you're a young agent, yes is the most powerful.
And that point about the evolution of, it's like know the value of your time, know your priorities, and within that, you've got to be willing to say no, and people will respect that. Well, and
you can earn no.
Yeah,
you can earn no. But when you're new, and what I tell my agents, if they're just starting out, I don't care. People can start in this career at 50 and 60. Like I have an agent that just started in my office. She's 59. She was a producer. She was a restaurateur. She's killing it because she's positioned right, and now meaning she knows everyone, and now I fine tune her.
She comes with the relationships. But relationships aren't everything. They are everything. No, you have to activate them.
That's right. And I teach her how to triangulate this, and I move her like this, and she's a dynamo. And I say that because a lot of my young agents, like probably a lot of yours, my new agents are young agents, but you don't have to be young to start in this career. And so she's my perfect example. And I'm super proud of her and all of my agents. I look at some of my office meetings and I look out and I'm just like, I could just cry of happiness because of the direct result of them listening and taking my direction. And I come from the school of thought, like you have to give it away to keep it. And sure, like, could I have just stayed on my hamster wheel with Brandon and we're just, okay, Kurt, Aaron, like, that's not fun. Like, I mean, I love the agents that I work with day in and day out when there aren't that many in the upper end, but it's not enough. It wasn't fulfilling.
Well, it's a leadership, a need to contribute is a really
you have to give it away to keep it. I love that one.
You have to care about what other people want. If you want them to stay in business with you to a certain extent, and you have to be part of their success. And it sounds like you've grown to a place where you really get fulfillment from pouring into other people, from being a part of their journeys. And so, how did that evolve? Yeah.
Well, to that point, I mean, listen to Rainey for the last 45 minutes. Yeah. You've highlighted so many people who've made a big mark on you. I've noticed that the gratitude you have for the Normands, for Stan Richmond, for all these people that have like poured into you. And I think it's important to never lose sight of that. I always say, never forget where you came from and who helped you get there. Right.
100%.
So I think
I think that gratitude is the key. I think overbalance over any single thing that if you needed one word for the key to deep success and deep happiness, it's gratitude. Yeah. Because if you are grateful, the universe and the world is abundant. And if you are coming from deficit, which deficit to me feels like and sounds like victim. And I'm not, and we're not victims. We are people that have the ability to, to grow and do all of the things. I mean, there was a time when I started in real estate where I would have to put, $20 worth of gas in my car and then eat tuna from a can for lunch and see that the bigger picture was I wanted to put marketing money into my first listing. And I was,
you were building a business.
And I was building a business and dollar in, dollar out, dollar in, $2 out, and that's how I tell my agents, like, who cares? I mean, I remember those days like it was yesterday, and it's not that I will ever forget that, and that I'll never not be able to empathize with new agents, and knowing that it's like, I want wire transfers, because if it closes, I want my agents paid now, because they will never show how badly they need that commission check, but they haven't been paid in months, and they have kids, or they, have a car bill or a student loan payment. Like, I'll never forget that. And I'll never lose sight of that. And nothing will jade me. No $200 million listing, no $1 million commission will ever jade me to the agents that are, struggling to get by.
So I say to my son, sorry, I'm so passionate about attitude and gratitude. That's like
it. The attitude of gratitude.
Right, there you go.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's a practice. Gratitude is a practice.
It totally is a practice.
Yep. And your point about being empathetic, which is always, how do you look at things from the other person's perspective? I think is so important in everything in life. Your agents, your clients, like, put yourself in their shoes, because that's going to help you become it's going to show that you care, and it's going to help you create a lot more value for them. Right. So I love that you emphasize that. Yeah, absolutely.
What is your goal with your brokerage, and, how are you happy where, the size that it is? Do you want to affect more people? How do you envision it?
We're moving. We're not announcing a location yet, but we're moving, and we're moving to Beverly Hills. We just opened yesterday in the Palisades Estates. Which is led by Jacqueline Chernoff, who, we brought her in to run that division. That we've always wanted to have one brokerage house but a few satellite offices for pit stops for our agents that have a global, not global, but you kind of have all house. Like if Soho House membership, you can get all houses.
Sure.
You can get all houses at the Beverly Hills Estates. And we hope that you come to the hub, especially for the meetings and the social club, and come for the coffee. And we always, anytime you'd ever hear about us, you're always going to hear about our social club and our coffees, but it's so important to us.
Smoothies.
Those are my smoothies.
Oh, okay. He said it was his smoothie.
No. Those are my recipes. And he always gives me credit because every ingredient is organic. There's collagen, there's chlorophyll. There's I go nuts. This is like a $50 smoothie, by the way.
Right.
Paul and I.
Did you have one when you went in there the other day?
Paul, because he's like, we gotta have our smoothie.
Yeah.
We gotta have our smoothie.
There's different names talking about paying respect. Like Bruce Mikowski was one of our clients. There's a Bruce Mikowski on the menu. There's a Jerry Maguire on the menu, which is a code name for one of our really close friends in the business. There's a lot of our big clients are on the menu. And the reason is because, Brandon is called the Brando. That's probably what he gave you. He loves his shake. I tailor-made them for
I think it was purple or something.
Yes, it's purple. Yeah. Because he loves berries and it's whatever. But the reason is also because enrichment comes from here. But it also comes from here, and it also comes from here. I don't want my agents getting, Brandon, I used to go to the coffee shop 4 or 5 times a day. Granted, it was across the street from Normand. We used to go to, back then, Starbucks, and we would always be going and getting caffeinated. But I want to fill my agents up. I want them to come touch base, come with one idea, leave with 4.
Holistic approach, yeah.
Leave with 4 ideas. That's cross-pollination. And then leave with a shake and leave with something and go. Because I tell them, if they're sitting in the office room, I'm like, guys, the money's out there. Mm-hmm. The money's not here.
Yeah.
Make your phone calls, make your connections, get some ideas, get inspired, because in the state of inspiration, there's no such thing as failure. In the state of inspiration, there is no such thing as failure. And that's why I have all the senses covered. When you walk in my office, I have taste, my food, my coffees. I have smell. I have a signature scent. I have music. Yeah. Everything is visually stimulating.
Environmental.
And then, I tap into the 6th sense is what I teach, all of my agents. And you ask my agents, I sage them, I Palo Santo them. I'm like, give me your hands. We meditate together. I give them benchmarks, and I'm like, write out your goals, because when you write out your goals, you're commanding it to the universe. And I never went a year as an agent where Brandon and I didn't sit and write out our goals, seal it up, staple it, and then revisit it at the end of the year and see if you hit that goal.
Yep.
And I think it's so important. So the 6th sense for me is your intuition, and that's your 3rd eye, and that is your pineal gland. And there is nothing more powerful than your intuition in real estate.
I love it. I couldn't, and your intuition, because I can't help myself.
It's a developable skill.
Right. It comes from a lot of action, a lot of experience.
10,000 hours.
Right. That's it, because that's what allows you to trust yourself, right?
Absolutely.
When you have the confidence because you've been through it before and you've done it. I always say action is the antidote, and you trust your intuition through a lot of action and to your point, a lot of mistakes and a lot of quote unquote failure.
What I call mistakes or lessons.
Yeah, there you go.
I tell my agents there's no mistakes. I tell my kids there's no mistakes. In fact, with my kids, to show them, because they see the level of push and perfectionism that comes from Brandon and I, which I don't label it perfectionism, but the world does. I remember one time when my kids were so stuck on everything being perfect. I remember intentionally making a wrong turn. And then I go, oops, shoot, mommy went the wrong way. And then I was like, no problem. We're going to loop right around and we're going to go that way. We were supposed to go right. I went left. And I was like, see, and they were young, because from such a young age, I'll never forget these little eyes, looking up, and if something wasn't, and I'm like, you know what? Adaptability, whoops, no big deal. Let's just keep going. Yeah. And it's a hard dichotomy, which is the striving for excellence and the desire to be the best. Mm-hmm. And then also accepting that it's not always going to be perfect.
Yeah. The concept of failing forward is something that we need to teach our children, right? And in taking away punitive pieces of making simple mistakes is really, really important, and allowing them to move forward without impunity, without the fear of failure, with almost the kind of acceptance of it, or embracing the possibility of learning something new from the friction of not accomplishing the task with perfection.
Exactly.
Yep. So if you reflect on some of the agents that you work with or you've worked with in the past, what would you say are 2 or 3 like common denominators of those that you've seen excel or or in the process of excelling? Like what do you look for in an agent that you believe is going to be great?
Relentlessness, no matter what, I think compassion. And I think by compassion, I mean putting the client first and sacrificing a commission if that means getting them something better down the road. Not looking for the payday, but looking for, playing the long game. It's always the long game. And I always tell my agents, and Brandon and I were very superstitious, and we never would count our commission. I mean, granted at some point, like, you could do the math in your head, but like, I never sat down and
start spending it
or even thinking about it.
Oh yeah.
That I'm going to give the same level of service for $1 million deal that I am $100 million deal, and everything in between, because it's a service oriented business. It's a relationship business. Yep. And also, like, I've pulled people out of deals so many times, and I'm like, that's not right. That is not resellable. Okay, hold on. You want this? Let me tell you 10 reasons why you shouldn't want this. And on the 11th, if you can tell me you still want it, I'll let you buy it. And that is compassion. And that is also, and by compassion, I mean, because you're dealing with, unlike when I was selling mortgages and I didn't feel right about it, what feels so right about residential real estate and commercial for that matter is you're fulfilling someone's needs and desires, and you're enhancing their life. And if you can consciously do that and know that you're placing somebody in the right environment, in the right location, in the right area, and you see how they move, like, are these people that move every 3 to 5 years? And if they are, you better be even more lean and mean on that purchase. And are they long-term stayers? Are they never going to move? Yep. Then they can have a little flex on location or overpaying a little. But having said that, there's one other thing that we learned from Saeed Normand, which was you'll only be remembered for the deals that you make, not the deals that you break. Now, the other side of that is if you break it, you make up for it by making another one, the right one. So always make the right one. But we've all worked with agents that are just problematic and create problems and want to, quote, hero the deal.
Or they feel like that's important an exhibition of their prowess. That's their skill is to create this tension in a deal.
Yeah, and it's like you have to have the foresight. You have to know that, is this going to enhance the person's quality of life? Do they have 10 great summers? Yeah. Great, let's give them 10 great summers. Yep. Because even though you can't say that to them, as a portfolio advisor, as the person that's going to enhance their life, as a lifestyle advisor, a fiduciary, you can guide them in the right way, you know, and so.
Well,
relationships.
It's interesting. Well, I was going to say it's interesting the holistic conversation and the business conversation, and how you're able to like blend those two pieces. Because if you over pour into the holistic piece and thinking about how they're experiencing the house for how long and in what ways, you also want to make them a good investment also. Yes. And I think, that's starting to sound like your gift in a way.
A good investment is holistic though. I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Because because business and holistic can go together. You can live in the material world and the ethereal world. You can live, that's the light and the dark, right?
Oh, it should be that way. I'm not saying that they work counterintuitive to each other. I'm just saying the communication of that value is, for different people is one that needs to be, is a skilled conversation.
It has to be honed. It's knowing when to go in and drive it home, because you can speak with conviction. You know wholeheartedly this is going to enhance their life. And that's the hard sale. But not just hard selling to hard sell, not hard selling to get the commission.
It's hard selling because you actually believe it's in their best interest.
Because you know it's holistic.
Yeah. And you know it's in their, what I was saying is relationships invariably take time because they're built on trust. Coming back to what you say is like play the long game. Play the long game, I always say, with urgency and consistency. And that's when people trust you and you're dependable. You do what you say you're going to do, and you don't just tell them what you think they want to hear. You tell them the truth. And sometimes that can be disappointing, but they're going to respect you in the end because they trust you.
And I think that agents are afraid to lose the client, right? Because especially oftentimes now there's clients, until you prove your worth, there's buyers out there that will work with whomever find them the house. Which I think is so short-sighted, but unless they have that advisor that's taking the reins and they know, it's like when you shop for a diamond or you shop for, it's like there are only so many diamonds that are the CCZ that you're looking for, then the same cut, whatever. Like, so you're going to end up pulling from the same pool, and you're actually going to drive the price up. Because now everybody is asking. 5
different people inquiring about the same.
Or what about property? Sellers that want all these different listing agents? It's like, it's this game. I don't know who's doing, like, no, it's like, I want one leader. I want one narrative. And I am selling the house for this reason, not for all the other reasons that these agents are creating to serve themselves, to sell the property, because it's a free for all. It's so important to be represented properly.
That's accountability, by the way. That's how I interpret that. Accountability is crucial, right?
You're A-type, you're a leader, you're all of those things. So if you're co-listing, you're taking, I already know, and I haven't co-listed with you, I already know you're taking the lead. I'm co-listing, I'm taking the lead because I have to, because I don't want to be the one that's like, she did it, he did it, I don't know. It has to be like, you know what, I did it. I hosted the open house. This is who, but unfortunately, sellers are not in this market, aren't coming from, they want that. It's like a diluted kind of like Costco mentality. It's like, I want more bang for my, it's like, you're not going to get it by putting 5 brokerage houses on the deal. That's not going to help you. But right now in this market that we're in, it makes them feel better.
It's you're seeing that a lot.
You're seeing that more now.
I'm seeing the high end. They'll put 3-4 brokerage houses on it.
More now than
ever.
Okay.
More than ever.
Okay.
Well, because they feel the stakes are so high.
Right.
That if they have 3 different sets of advertising out there, or I don't know.
It's like they're hedging their bets.
They're hedging their bets.
3 powerful agents who are who want to sell their property, have skin in the game to sell their property.
But they have less skin in the game.
Right. That's what they're diluting.
And
there's lack of accountability. That's my point.
Not everybody has the mentality that the 3 of us have, which is to deliver a great service and in
a collaborative way for the client's benefit.
Kill or be killed. Nobody, like, not everybody comes, like, some people are like, oh, well, I'll just put my name on it. And I'm sure,
Rainey
will take the lead and do the work.
So
they're going to sublimate.
Let me change direction for a moment here. So I love this question. I ask a lot of people, like, what does the ideal world look like for you? Professionally, let's say 3 years from now, 5 years from now.
I feel like I'm living the ideal world right now, and I'm on that, like, I'm going there and I'm on the trajectory, and I feel it and I see it, and I know that it's happening, and it sort of looks like, I think my main thing is my bigger office, and that I'm really excited about. And I'm really excited about the legacy and the rebuild of the Palisades and having a hand in it, because I know of 60% of people aren't rebuilding because they have to get back into life and action. I want to be a part of that. Now, 40% that's grinding on helping and making sure that we preserve that neighborhood in Malibu. And legacy for me.
Legacy.
I do want to know what your vision for the Palisades or your participation in the Palisades rebuild
right now. So Brandon and I have built 28 homes to date as developers. As a side passion project, we got in the development game like maybe 12 years ago because we were watching all of our developer clients do so many things wrong.
Sure.
And until you've built a house, good luck getting a developer to listen to you. But now, because we've done it so many times, now we'll get brought on as consultants and people will say, okay. And I love that because you know, and I know what materials and what is in demand for buyers. And you also know that this house is in plan check. And by the time it comes out, that material's old. So you also have to know and think ahead and have that, futuristic thinking. And so I, as a developer, have not delved into the Palisades, but we have bought some things in Malibu. So we are bullish on Malibu because we live there on the weekends. So we're part of that rebuild. As far as my hand in the Palisades rebuilds right now, it's just advising and selling. And we're looking for brick and mortar, but to start with, we just got a really cool Airstream that has, and a golf cart where if we want to drive around the alphabet streets, that's easy. If we want to go to the Riv, we have all the information there. We'll educate there. And then if we're doing, like the Huntington and stuff like that, we have the information. And there is a great program that I didn't start, but it's called Case Study 2.0. And the people that came together, you guys, this is so genius. You can get a Marmol Radziner. You can get, swear to God, I can't make this up, a Howard Bakken. You can get phenomenal architects that have devoted their time and they found if it's a 6,400 square foot lot, you can build this and here's plug and play and you can pay, call it $100,000, $150,000 for the Marmol Radziner or the Howard Bakken, who God rest his soul, one of the most prolific, and he just died. Wow. You can get these plans, which you could never get in the speed that you need if you want to go expeditiously. And you can pay for that Case Study 2.0 and you buy it and it's all done for you. And if that doesn't create
plan check, pre-approved,
it's all the red tape is cut, because unlike what we were told, the red tape has not been cut for us. So unfortunately, you still have to go through a lot of hoops, but this is the fast track to that. And so one of the people involved in it is a woman that helped to she was like a lobbyist for the wildlife ordinance. And her name is Allison. And I'll turn you guys on to Allison and Jason Summers. Jason Summers is the owner of Crest Realty, but it's called Crest Realty, but he's actually the head expediter in town. Okay. And if you want to have them or talk to them, they're fantastic people to talk to about that. Yeah. And I think, for me with the Palisades, and I don't know how you guys feel, but it was the most idyllic place in the world. I never lived there, but it didn't.
5 weekends in a row, my wife and son and I went to the Palisades right before the fires. So literally.
Yeah, I mean, my in-laws lost their house. My brother-in-law lost his house. My cousin lost his house. I didn't grow up there. I grew up in Philadelphia, but my wife grew up in the Palisades, right? The sleepy, suburb of the Palisades when they bought their
it's like LA's version of Utopia.
$65,000.
Truly Utopia. And I feel like when I would show houses there and sell houses there, every time Brandon and I would be there, we'd be like, why don't we live here? Yeah. We'd be like, let's just live here.
Sure.
But then, it's like we
start to look at the logistics of it.
Yes.
Too is,
And the speed of kind of like just being right here versus that commute over the freeway.
Downshifting.
If we were there, we'd just be there. But to go from, we're heavily here to there, even though, we sell so much in Malibu. And if you look at Malibu, how it's rebounded, an $80 million sale. Brandon and I had a $50 million sale. We've had a handful of 25, 27, $30 million sales. People
post
just in the last 3 months. Yeah. It's like the money that has been allocated back into Malibu is so indicative of the resilience of this city. Not to mention, I don't know about you guys, but like, do you ever drive clients into Malibu that are foreigners, especially Europeans, and they're like, this is Malibu? I was like, wait, drive them through now after the devastation. And they're like, oh, this is Malibu. But pre-fires, it's so NIMBY. But that was the beauty of it. But people didn't.
Unassuming.
You have
Europeaners.
to live it, living it and viewing it are two different
You have to be a local that knows
Absolutely.
the convenience of that 45-minute drive, and also the little restaurants and the Real Inn, which is gone, and Cholada, which is gone, but you still have Malibu seafood. And then now Clark's from Aspen's is there, and all these, Pure Vita from Miami, and there's, I believe in this city.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir for sure.
Yeah, we're both fans. We both live here.
And we're here.
It's going to get better. It's going to come back.
Oh no doubt.
And lucky for us, we have the resources to do that, right? And we have California has a path forward.
Whatever all the political polarization, there's one thing that I think almost everyone is unified is the Palisades. Everyone wants it back. Bigger, better than ever. And there's no doubt in my mind that that's going to happen.
Yeah. No, it will absolutely happen.
So we finish our podcast with what we call the fire round. And these are very quick questions. And we just want like very visceral, quick answers. We don't even dig deeper.
Sentence or word. It doesn't have to be anything, or you can expand on it all you like. But it's the fire round, right? So it's a bunch of quick questions.
All right.
You ready?
They're
to roll?
fun. They're fun. You'll like it.
What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Perfect happiness is inner peace.
What's your greatest fear?
My greatest fear is, gosh, I don't even want to say it out loud.
It's okay.
I'm superstitious.
You don't have to say it out loud.
My greatest fear, I would say, is, my greatest joy is being with my family. So my greatest fear would be being without them.
Yeah.
What's the attribute you most admire in others?
Integrity. What's
the greatest compliment you ever received?
The greatest compliment I ever received. Gosh. You're a great mother.
What's your greatest achievement?
Being a mother.
What's the trait that you deplore in others?
Lying.
So there are many amazing hikes in greater Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So you take this amazing hike and you go to the top of this mountain and you look down at your friends, your family, your peers, people you really love and admire. What do you shout down to them?
You can do it.
Love it. Rainey, absolutely amazing. That was really very fun. Inspiring, very purposeful, very intentional, and with such gratitude.
We're fans.
So, for sure.
I'm a fan of you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We appreciate it.